People always wax about the art of the perfect fly cast, but not today. We focus on the beauty of the building process. Find out how Temple Fork Outfitters fly rods come to life. Oh, and I get a lesson in ping pong too. People are passionate about outdoor equipment. Get this, Americans spend more than $20 billion a year on gear. But no one ever really sees how their stuff gets made.
Well, that's where we come in. Each week, we throw open the factory doors and give you a behind-the-scenes look at how your favorite gear is made.
Made for the outdoors. The art of the perfect cast. The act of fly and rod in one silky motion. Beauty in raw outdoor form. Temple Fork Outfitters headquarters sit aptly guarded in a quiet section of Dallas, Texas. Silent until you get inside. All day long, workers ship rods to supply international demand.
In an hour, each of us will pull about 10 orders.
See, lots of people like to fish with fly rods. A fly rod consists of four main components: the rod blank, the grip, a reel seat, and several line guides. Fly casters throw the weight of a fly line instead of simply chucking the weight of a lure. That means building a fly rod takes different technology and a little different approach.
It gets into your blood and into your soul, and pretty quick you're not making a very good living, but you're doing what you love to do.
Jim Shulin of Temple Fork Outfitters offered to shuttle us darn near halfway around the world to the busiest city I've ever seen. South Korea's Incheon and Seoul area. Population, a few more than 24 million people. Major manufacturing hub on the Yellow Sea. Right in the middle of Incheon, a modest facility, home to magic.
This is where the entire rod building process starts, what they call the rolling room.
Boxes of raw material line the walls inside Temple Fork's production center.
3 times a week, it's coming in. Boom, 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 in and out.
It's like eating warm donuts every day. There's this really fresh material, which is important.
Fresh carbon fiber fabric, a lightweight and ultra-strong rod material, all pre-treated with a resin that will eventually cement each rod blank.
As soon as you lay the resins, they start to cure. Just out here in the air, they're going to cure.
Exactly why Mr. Kim gets right to work prepping new fabric. He first lays out a full sheet on the cutting table, and then marks each pattern for each individual fly rod.
It's so fun to watch him work. Everything is so exact.
Rod makers call these fabric pieces flags. Stacks of labeled flags end up on the production shelf.
Name of the city is Saltwater. Product 2, 9 foot 10 weight, 4 piece.
Byung-Jin Im knows everything about the fly rod building process and these rods. We know him as BJ, TFO's rod engineer and the owner in charge in Incheon.
I have just one hobby, that is fishing. That's why I love the fishing, and that is my job and my hobby.
BJ brainstormed this entire facility and all these steps.
How many? 50. Mandrel number is 03.
03.
He designed the mandrels too.
There are a ton of them.
And they mean everything.
Absolutely, everything has its own taper for its own rod.
These steel rods represent the genetic code of every single fishing rod.
Some of these mandrels are used for more than one fly rod, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Each mandrel has the numbers on the here.
Team TFO gears up for a production run. We'll take a quick break while they prep the mandrels. Coming up, Temple Fork's rod process really gets rolling.
Made for the Outdoors is brought to you by Banks Outdoors, Aquarius Home Services, Border View Lodge, FVP, and Husqvarna.
Temple Fork Outfitters cranks out fly rods. With the carbon fiber fabric cut to spec, workers prep the rod mandrels. Mr. Kim first brushes on a release agent.
It is rolled around this in preparation to put it in an oven to cure the resins in the carbon fiber prepreg.
So each one of these represents a specific rod model.
Yes.
Mr. Bond lines up and lays each rod flag against each mandrel.
I couldn't have the patience to do it.
I bet it could deal some cards too.
He melts the resin right along the edge of the flag.
Off the roller.
Now, Mr. Kim twists each flag into a rod section. He rolls dozens of pieces in no time.
The pad is just warm enough that each time he rolls, it starts to have that resin adhere. There they go.
Then adds a little extra flag of carbon fiber. See that? It's a bit of reinforcement.
He's just adding a little piece on the fly rod that'll be where the two parts join. They make a lot of rods, but when you watch this, you realize that they're hand produced. Each of these steps is done by hand. And then after they get rolled, they'll go over to the taping.
Yep, taping.
All they're doing is taking cellophane tape and wrapping that section of the rod, so when they cook it, it stays perfectly round.
Now the blank building process really warms up.
BJ says literally this is the most important part of the process. Literally make or break.
Everything that we've looked at this far, it's raw material, right? This machine turns it into a fishing rod blank.
Pretty simple. Shut it, lock it, pin it, and then one of those buttons.
The oven cooks each rod section. All this oven talk makes us hungry. Workers take a break for food. And Team TFO always eats together. Get this, BJ buys lunch every single day.
We are family. That's why.
Right after food, the team burns calories and a bit of steam. Table tennis, official sport of TFO. Can't play too long. Remember, the oven's still on. Each rod blank now cooked to Rod Building's version of perfect medium rare. Mr. Kim pops each rod section off each mandrel.
So after they dry, I guess there is a job in here I can do. Somebody's got to pull all that tape off of every single rod. I'm going to be here a while.
Now comes one of TFO's most important steps. Trust me. Grinders eliminate extra resin from the baking process. They smooth out each blank. But there's something more going on here.
He is fitting ferrules. We know what the ferrule is on the female side just because we know the exact diameter and taper of the mandrel. This machine can replicate that on the male end.
The point is, it allows you to have two sections that fit together perfectly every time.
Every time. We can take a rod that we built out of here 10 years ago and fit it with one of these. He's running through the machine right now, and it will fit.
Okay, time out. When we come back, TFO weaves a story of technology, and the rods finally earn their colors.
Made for the Outdoors is brought to you by Central Boiler, Summit Beer, Ice Castle Fish Houses, Smoky Hills Outdoors Store, and Magnum Research.
The art of fly rods isn't just in the act itself, but in the dance as rods come to life. With carbon fiber blanks rolled, baked, and sanded, TFO adds a twist. Okay, actually a bunch.
That's called braiding.
It looks pretty, but it has function.
It adds function. It helps reduce the ovaling effect. When you take a round hollow object and bend it, it's got an oval. This helps reduce it.
A technology unique to several of TFO's rod series.
Yeah, this is a patented process.
Dancing spools are fun to watch. The next step, not so much. Mr. Cho tweaks every rod blank to test for integrity.
I know that's totally normal for a rod, but it just gives me the willies every time I see it.
He wrenches on fly rods and conventional rods to make sure they all pass spec. With his approval, a mask goes on and paint goes in the can. Watch this. Mr. Lee runs rod blanks through a simple latex diaphragm. He tips the paint can and pulls. The result? Magical. The paint booth doubles as the drying rack. Fans pump lots of warm air over freshly colored rods.
They're brought up to a temperature that paint cures. There's not as much mad science in that part of it, though.
Same story adding logos. A very simple process squeegees info onto each rod.
Seems so simple, but it's just incredible to watch. Rolls it on. Perfect.
Only now can they leave the factory. At least for a quick trip.
About a 15-minute drive across town, BJ's Buddy's shop. Come on, follow me downstairs.
BJ funnels all the fly rods through this shop, where workers put the pedal to the metal.
That is where the guides are wrapped on. It's a pretty simple process, but it's a very important process. The guide spacing, everything straight and alignment. He's friends with these people and part of the community. He wants to give them the business and keep them and their families, happy and healthy and working.
So once that thread has 2 layers of epoxy, they just stay in here for about an hour under heat, spinning.
And then a car ride right back to TFO. Where rod parts start to really stack up. That's Mr. June. He's BJ's nephew. And he pops a grip onto each fly rod. Then he whips up a stew of epoxy mixed with a not-so-secret ingredient.
It's like putting pebble rocks in concrete.
That grit is actually emery powder. It's the same stuff used in nail files and sandpaper, and it goes into the epoxy because when the handle's dry, it just locks everything together forever.
Mr. June twists on epoxy and then slides the handle into place just right. He passes the rods over to Mr. Kang, who finishes by adding the reel seat. Notice how he takes time to make sure the grip, guides, and reel seat all line up exactly right. The epoxy needs a bit of time to set up, so we'll take a break. Up next, the last step, which finally takes a TFO rod from factory to fishing.
Made for the Outdoors is brought to you by Banks Outdoors, Aquarius Home Services, Border View Lodge, Factory Motor Parts, and Husqvarna.
2 days into the production process, all these TFO rods still need a bit more TLC before the rods can go out the door. The final production processes start with very steady hands. Matching colored dots help anglers match all 4 sections of the fly rod. After the paint dries, final and very thorough look-see. Workers check every component on every rod.
Discerning eyes, yes, checking for any imperfections to make sure that some of these thread wraps are all perfect. The guides are aligned perfect. There's no blemishes in the paint. They've got to be good, and they are. BJ's the best.
They also make sure each rod section fits together just right. Any blemish, any hiccup means the rod will not pass inspection.
Anything they might see gets a little red dot like this one. It's a part that they'll either go back and fix and make right again, otherwise it goes into the garbage can.
Rods that do pass QC get a quick wipe down and then a special label. The work, actually the art of crafting fly rods, the passion of these people.
It's a sense of pride, no question about that. Once that passes inspection, they're bagged and sold throughout stores all over the U.S.
But not before a stop back in Dallas, Texas, USA.
Lots of walking. GIS.
Where you get a better feel for just how many rods TFO ships out.
Get a look at that. This one, they just go down here. That's it. Rinse and repeat.
And And just like that, James in Cleveland, your order's ready to go, along with the rest of them.
Fly rods, tools of the outdoor trade that help dreams become, well, this. Days on the water.
They help everyday people forget about their stressful lives and make memories of a lifetime for them and their families.
Pretty awesome.
Is it break time yet? You don't understand me. I think I'm gonna be here a while.
Here, when you get through with these, find us.